Every day we live in two worlds, the outer world of circumstances, events, and people, and the inner world of our thoughts and emotions. Most people spend their lives trying to control the outer world. They think that if circumstances change, they will feel better. If people behave differently, they will find peace. But the truth is, it's the inner world that drives everything. The outer world is never truly in your control, but your response to it is. That is where real power lies. Gaining power over your thoughts and emotions doesn't mean you eliminate challenges. It means you build the ability to face those challenges without being controlled by them. Think about it. The same situation can break one person and strengthen another. The difference isn't in the event, it's in how the mind interprets and responds to it. The first step is awareness. Most people don't realize how much their thoughts dictate their behavior. You cannot manage what you don't notice. By becoming aware of your inner dialogue, you start to see the patterns. When fear drives your decisions, when anger hijacks your clarity, when self-doubt silences your potential, awareness creates a pause, and in that pause, choice is born. The second step is responsibility, not blame, responsibility. Responsibility is the understanding that while you may not control every event, you control how you interpret and respond to it. This simple shift transforms you from a victim of circumstance into the author of your experience. Responsibility unlocks freedom. The third step is practice. Power over thoughts and emotions is not achieved in a single day. Just like building physical strength, it requires consistent training. When you consciously redirect a negative thought, when you choose patience instead of anger, when you pause to breathe before reacting, you are strengthening that inner muscle. Over time, it becomes your natural response. And finally, this power is not about suppressing emotions. Suppression only buries them deeper. True mastery is about understanding them, naming them, and choosing the response that serves you best. Fear can be channeled into courage. Sadness can deepen empathy. Anger can fuel determination. Emotions are not your enemies, they are signals. Power comes from learning to use those signals wisely. When you gain power over your thoughts and emotions, the world no longer dictates who you are. Instead, you carry stability, clarity, and resilience wherever you go. You become the calm in the storm, not because storms don't exist, but because you've learned to steer your ship through them. 5 keynotes of the speech: true power lies in mastering the inner world, not controlling the outer world. Awareness of your thoughts is the first step toward gaining control over them. Responsibility, not blame, transforms you from a victim into the author of your experience. Consistent practice strengthens your ability to manage thoughts and emotions effectively. Emotions are signals, not enemies. Mastery comes from channeling them, not suppressing them. True power lies in mastering the inner world, not controlling the outer world. When we step back and look at life, most of our energy is spent trying to manage things that are beyond our control. We worry about what people will think of us, how circumstances will unfold, whether opportunities will come, or whether challenges will disappear. This constant attempt to control the outside world creates frustration because the truth is, the external world is unpredictable. It does not bend to our will. Markets crash, people disappoint us, relationships change, plans fall apart, and unexpected obstacles appear. No matter how much effort we put into arranging everything perfectly, life has a way of disrupting those arrangements. If we attach our sense of stability and happiness to external control, we will always feel powerless because the outer world cannot be mastered. Yet, if we shift our focus inward, a different kind of strength begins to emerge. Inside us lies a space where perception is formed, where meaning is given, and where decisions are made. Two people can face the same challenge, and one may collapse in despair while the other grows stronger and wiser. The difference lies not in what happened, but in the way their inner world interpreted the event. The outer world may strike with equal force, but the inner response determines whether it becomes a burden or a lesson, a setback or a stepping stone. True power, therefore, is not about eliminating storms, but about learning how to sail through them with calm and clarity. When you focus on mastering your inner world, you start by observing how you think, feel, and react. Imagine a person stuck in heavy traffic. The outer world is the same for everyone. Cars are not moving. Time is slipping away. Some people will explode in anger, honking, shouting, and raising their blood pressure. Others will remain calm, maybe turn on some music, reflect, or use the time to think. The difference is not in the traffic, but in the interpretation and control of the inner response. The one who has learned to master his mind is not enslaved by anger because he recognizes that frustration will not move the cars. This is power, the ability to remain centered regardless of what happens outside. This power becomes even more important in bigger moments of life. Losing a job, facing criticism, experiencing rejection, or going through personal loss, these events shake us to the core. The instinctive reaction is to feel defeated, to believe the world has turned against us. But if we have developed mastery over our inner world, we can pause and look at the situation differently. Instead of saying, why is this happening to me? We can ask, what can I learn from this? How can I grow through this? That shift in perspective does not remove the pain, but it transforms the pain into fuel for growth. The outer event remains the same, but the inner strength changes the meaning, and the meaning changes the experience. It is tempting to believe that if only the world outside aligned perfectly, we would finally be at peace. If only we had more money, if only people treated us better, if only circumstances favored us. But this is an illusion because even those who seem to have everything still face dissatisfaction, stress, and insecurity. Peace is not created by aligning the outer world. It is created by mastering the inner one. A mind that is trained to respond with patience, gratitude, and resilience can find stability even in chaos. A mind that is uncontrolled will feel restless even in abundance. This mastery is not about indifference to the world. It does not mean you stop caring about your goals, relationships, or challenges. It simply means you stop giving them the power to dictate your inner state. You can still pursue success, still hope for good outcomes, still plan and dream. But your peace is not held hostage by whether the outer world delivers on those expectations. You anchor yourself in the strength of your inner world, knowing that no matter what happens outside, you have the ability to interpret, adapt, and move forward. When you realize that true power is within, you stop fighting battles you can never win, like controlling people's opinions, preventing every difficulty, or shaping every outcome. Instead, you focus on the battle you can win, the one inside your own mind. And when that battle is won, life transforms. The outer storms may continue, but inside you carry calmness, clarity, and strength that no force can take away. This is what it means to hold real power, the kind of power that lasts regardless of circumstances. Awareness of your thoughts is the first step toward gaining control over them. Most of the time, we are not even conscious of the patterns that run through our minds. Thoughts rise and fall like waves, and without realizing it, we are carried away by them. A single doubt, a small irritation, or a fleeting worry can grow into a storm inside our head, shaping our emotions and decisions. When we lack awareness, we confuse these thoughts with reality, as if every fear is true, every judgment is accurate, and every assumption reflects the world exactly as it is. But the truth is, our thoughts are not facts, they are interpretations, and awareness is the tool that allows us to separate what is real from what is imagined. Imagine for a moment that you are walking into a room and two people glance at you. Without awareness, the mind may instantly jump to a conclusion. They are judging you. They are laughing at you. You are not good enough. That thought produces insecurity, and insecurity shapes your behavior. You withdraw, speak less, and carry yourself with less confidence. But none of this was based on fact. It was a story the mind created. Now imagine if, in that moment, awareness stepped in. You notice the thought forming, you pause, and you recognize this is just a thought, not reality. Suddenly you are free. The glance may have meant nothing, or it could have been something positive. Either way, the story loses its power because awareness interrupted the automatic chain of reaction. This is why awareness is so powerful. It creates a gap between stimulus and response, a space in which choice is possible. Without awareness, we live on autopilot, reacting impulsively to everything around us. With awareness, we step into the role of observer, watching our thoughts with curiosity rather than being trapped by them. This does not mean we stop having negative or unhelpful thoughts. It simply means those thoughts lose their ability to control us. Awareness turns us from passengers into drivers of our own minds. Becoming aware, however, takes practice. It starts with simple observation. Throughout the day, notice what kind of thoughts dominate your mind. Are they filled with fear about the future, regret about the past, or judgment about others? Awareness does not judge these thoughts as good or bad. It simply sees them for what they are, mental events passing through your mind. When you start observing in this way, you begin to notice patterns. You see that certain situations trigger certain thoughts, and that those thoughts repeatedly create the same emotions. This understanding is the foundation of self-mastery. Take, for example, the emotion of anger. Someone cuts you off in traffic, and instantly a thought arises, how dare they? They disrespected me. That thought fuels the fire, and you explode with anger. But what if, in that split second, awareness steps in? You catch the thought as it forms. You notice the story your mind is telling you. In that moment of noticing, you create space. You realize that another person's behavior does not have to dictate your state of mind. You can choose patience. You can choose to let it go. The difference between exploding in anger and remaining calm lies in one simple thing: awareness, the thought that sparked the emotion. Awareness also reveals how much of our suffering is self-created. Often, the event itself is neutral, but our thoughts about it create pain. A delay in plans becomes a crisis in our mind. A minor mistake turns into a story of failure. A single word of criticism grows into hours of self-doubt. None of this suffering is caused by the event alone. It is caused by the unconscious repetition of thoughts we never questioned. The moment we become aware, the suffering begins to dissolve. We see the thought as a thought, not as truth, and with that recognition, its grip weakens. Over time, this practice of awareness transforms the way we live. Instead of being dragged into every mental storm, we stand outside and watch the clouds pass. Instead of believing every story the mind tells, we choose the ones that serve us and let the rest go. This is not detachment from life, it is engagement with clarity. When you are aware, you are no longer asleep to your own mind. You wake up, and in that awakening, freedom begins. Responsibility, not blame, transforms you from a victim into the author of your experience. When things go wrong, the natural reaction for many people is to look outward and find someone or something to blame. It feels easier to say that circumstances, people, or fate are responsible for where we are. But when we live in blame, we hand over our power. Blame keeps us stuck, because if the cause of our problem is always outside us, then the solution is outside us too. We end up waiting for the world to change before we can move forward, and that day rarely comes. Responsibility On the other hand, is an inner decision. It is the recognition that while we cannot control everything that happens, we always control how we respond. The moment we take responsibility, we reclaim our power because now the direction of our life is in our hands. Think of a setback at work. Perhaps a project fails and the instinct is to say it was because of unhelpful colleagues' bad timing or lack of resources. All of that may be partly true, but living in that narrative leaves no room for growth. Now imagine instead you take responsibility. You ask, what could I have done differently? How can I prepare better for next time? How do I improve my communication, my planning, my resilience? Responsibility does not deny external factors, but it refuses to give them the final word. It shifts focus from what cannot be changed to what can. This is the mindset of authorship, where every experience, good or bad, becomes raw material for growth. Responsibility also changes the way we see our emotions. When we feel anger, fear, or sadness, it is tempting to say, that person made me feel this way. But in truth, no one has direct control over our emotions. What they do triggers a thought inside us, and that thought creates the emotion. If we live in blame, we give others the power to dictate our inner state. If we live in responsibility, we recognize that while others may act unfairly, it is still our choice how we interpret and respond. This does not excuse harmful behavior, but it does protect us from becoming prisoners of it. Responsibility is the difference between being reactive and being intentional. Consider someone who constantly complains about how unfair life is. They may feel a sense of relief in blaming the system, their upbringing, or their environment. But what they do not realize is that this pattern robs them of agency. As long as the problem is outside, they cannot move forward. Contrast this with someone who faces the same challenges but chooses responsibility. They may acknowledge the obstacles, but they also say, I will not let this define me. I will find a way. I will work with what I have. That shift in mindset does not instantly erase hardship, but it creates momentum. Responsibility ignites creativity, determination, and resilience because it places the power back where it belongs, inside us. Taking responsibility also deepens relationships. In conflicts, the easiest thing to do is to point the finger and insist the other person is at fault. But real growth comes when we step back and ask, how did I contribute to this situation? What words did I use? What assumptions did I make? Responsibility does not mean taking all the blame, it means owning our part. When two people take responsibility instead of defending themselves through blame, conversations change. Healing becomes possible, understanding grows, and trust is rebuilt. Responsibility is the doorway to maturity in how we connect with others. Some people resist responsibility because they confuse it with self-blame. They think, I take responsibility. I am saying it's all my fault. But responsibility is not about fault. It is about response. Blame points back where responsibility looks forward. Blame keeps us in guilt. Responsibility pulls us toward growth. It is not about punishing ourselves for what went wrong, but about empowering ourselves to do better moving ahead. This distinction is crucial because without it, responsibility can feel heavy when in truth it is liberating. Ultimately, responsibility turns life into a story you are writing rather than one being written for you. Every chapter may not be what you expected, and some pages may be painful, but when you hold the pen, you decide how the story unfolds from here. That is the essence of freedom, choosing your response, your growth, and your direction, regardless of what the outside world throws at you. When you live this way, you stop waiting for others to change and start changing yourself. You stop wishing for different circumstances and start building strength to thrive in the ones you have. This is where transformation happens, not in blame, but in responsibility, where the power to shape your life finally returns to its rightful place within you. Consistent practice strengthens your ability to manage thoughts and emotions effectively. Mastery is never a one-time achievement. It is a habit formed through repetition. Just like building physical strength requires lifting weights regularly, building mental strength requires training the mind in small, deliberate ways each day. The first time you pause before reacting in anger, it may feel unnatural. The first time you replace a negative thought with a constructive one, it may take effort. But the more you practice, the more natural it becomes. Over time, what once felt difficult turns into instinct, and what once felt forced becomes part of your character. The mind, like any muscle, responds to training. If you repeatedly indulge in worry, your mind becomes skilled at worrying. If you constantly feed anger, frustration becomes your automatic response. But if you consistently practice awareness, patience, and calm reflection, your mind grows in that direction instead. Practice rewires the brain, creating pathways that make positive responses easier and more natural. This is why small daily choices matter so much. They may seem insignificant in the moment, but together they build the foundation of who you become. Think of a person who wants to learn a new instrument. They cannot expect mastery after playing for a single day. They must return again and again, repeating scales, making mistakes, correcting them, and slowly improving. The same principle applies to the inner world. You cannot expect to have full control over your emotions in a single moment of crisis if you have never practiced in smaller moments. It is in the everyday frustrations, the long lines, the traffic, the misunderstandings that practice happens. Each of these moments is like a training ground, an opportunity to strengthen the ability to remain calm, to choose wisely, to master the response. One of the most powerful aspects of practice is that it compounds. A single act of patience may not seem transformative, but repeated acts of patience change your entire emotional landscape. Each time you choose to redirect a negative thought, you weaken its hold on you. Each time you breathe before reacting, you strengthen your ability to remain composed in bigger situations. Over months and years, the accumulation of these small practices builds a resilience that cannot be shaken easily. When a true storm comes, you are ready, not because the storm is smaller, but because your inner strength has grown greater. Consistent practice also teaches humility. You realize quickly that mastery does not mean perfection. There will still be days when anger gets the better of you or when worry consumes your thoughts. But practice is not about never falling. It is about returning again and again to the effort. Just like an athlete misses shots but keeps training, or a musician plays wrong notes but keeps practicing, growth in mastering thoughts and emotions comes from persistence, not flawless performance. Every setback is an opportunity to begin again, and beginning again is itself an act of strength. Practice also builds trust in yourself. Each time you successfully manage a thought or emotion, you prove to yourself that you are capable. Over time, this creates confidence. You no longer feel like a victim of your emotions. You begin to trust your ability to navigate them. This trust becomes a quiet strength, a kind of inner stability that others can sense. People are drawn to those who carry calm in chaos, not because they never feel emotions, but because they have practiced enough to remain steady through them. Another important truth is that practice is not something reserved for moments of silence or meditation alone. Yes, setting aside time for reflection helps, but the real practice happens in the middle of life, in conversations at work, in conflicts and disappointments. Each of these is a chance to apply what you've been training. If you only practice in quiet spaces but lose control in real situations, the training is incomplete. The goal of consistent practice is to carry that same awareness and strength into every corner of daily life. Over time, you may not even notice how much you have changed. The person who once reacted impulsively now pauses naturally. The one who drowned in worry now redirects thoughts towards solutions. The one who was shaken by every difficulty now carries an unshakable steadiness. None of this happens overnight, but all of it happens through consistent practice. Mastery of thoughts and emotions is not about sudden transformation. It is about steady evolution built day by day, choice by choice, until your inner world becomes stronger than any storm outside. Emotions are signals, not enemies. Mastery comes from channeling them, not suppressing them. Too often, people see emotions as weaknesses, as flaws to be hidden or suppressed. They believe strength means showing no fear, no sadness, no vulnerability. But suppression does not eliminate emotions. It only pushes them deeper, where they grow stronger and find unhealthy ways of resurfacing. Anger that is buried turns into resentment. Fear that is ignored turns into anxiety. Sadness that is denied turns into numbness. True mastery does not come from pretending emotions do not exist. It comes from understanding them, respecting them, and learning how to use them wisely. Every emotion carries a message. Anger, for instance, often signals that a boundary has been crossed or that something feels unjust. Fear signals that we perceive danger, whether real or imagined. Sadness signals that we have lost something meaningful, reminding us of what we value. Even joy, which we often welcome without question, signals that something aligns with our values and desires. When we see emotions as signals, we treat them like messengers rather than enemies. We stop asking, how do I get rid of this feeling? And instead ask, what is this feeling trying to tell me? That shift changes everything, because instead of fighting ourselves, we begin to listen and grow. Channeling emotions means taking the energy they give and directing it towards something constructive. Anger, when uncontrolled, can destroy relationships and cloud judgment. But anger, when channeled, can fuel determination to correct injustice or push through obstacles. Fear, when left unchecked, can paralyze action. But fear, when understood, can sharpen awareness, prepare us to face challenges, and make us more careful in our choices. Sadness, if drowned in, can feel heavy and endless. But sadness, when embraced, deepens our compassion and helps us connect with others in their struggles. Every emotion has a higher purpose if we choose to use it rather than resist it. Think of great leaders, artists, or innovators. Many of them have faced strong emotions, but instead of being crushed by them, they turn them into fuel. A leader who feels anger at injustice uses it to fight for change. An artist who feels sadness uses it to create work that resonates deeply with others. A person who feels fear before a challenge uses it as a signal to prepare more thoroughly. The emotion itself is not the problem. It is the direction we give it. Mastery is not shutting emotions down, but guiding them into something meaningful. It is also important to remember that emotions come and go. They rise like waves and then fade. Without awareness, we act as if every emotion is permanent, as if today's sadness will last forever or today's anger defines who we are. But emotions are temporary states, not permanent truths. When we accept this, we stop fearing them. We can allow ourselves to feel fully without being overwhelmed because we know the feeling will pass. Suppression tries to stop the wave, but mastery learns to surf it, to ride it with balance until it naturally settles. One of the biggest mistakes people make is labeling emotions as good or bad. Joy and excitement are seen as good, while fear, anger, and sadness are seen as bad. But emotions are neutral signals. They become helpful or harmful depending on how we handle them. Anger is not bad if it drives meaningful change. Fear is not bad if it protects us from recklessness. Sadness is not bad if it reminds us of love and connection. Even joy can become harmful if we cling to it and cannot let it go. Mastery lies in removing the labels and learning to see each emotion as part of the human experience. valuable in its own way. Channeling emotions also requires honesty. We cannot guide what we refuse to acknowledge. Admitting to ourselves, I am afraid or I am hurt, does not make us weak. It makes us aware. Awareness is the first step toward using that energy constructively. Denial keeps us trapped. Acknowledgement frees us to choose a response. When we give ourselves permission to feel without judgment, we create space to redirect the emotion rather than being consumed by it. Over time, the way we handle emotions shapes who we are. Those who suppress emotions often become hardened, disconnected, and reactive. Those who indulge every emotion without control become unstable, tossed around by every passing feeling. But those who learn to channel emotions become steady, resilient, and deeply human. They are not ruled by their emotions, but neither are they cut off from them. They carry both strength and empathy, clarity and compassion. This is the essence of emotional mastery, not the absence of feeling, but the wise use of it. When you look at everything we've explored, it becomes clear that gaining power over your thoughts and emotions is not about controlling the world outside, but about transforming the world within. The outer world will always be unpredictable, filled with challenges, changes, and uncertainties. But your inner world is where meaning is created, where choices are made, and where true strength resides. By mastering your inner responses, you reclaim power that circumstances can never take from you. Awareness gives you the ability to see your thoughts for what they are, not for what they pretend to be. Responsibility shifts your focus from blame to growth, allowing you to become the author of your own story. Practice turns these insights into habits, slowly building a resilient mind that can stay steady in the face of chaos. And embracing emotions as signals rather than enemies allows you to channel their energy into growth, connection, and purpose instead of being consumed by them. The journey of mastery is not about perfection. It is about progress, about choosing again and again to rise above autopilot reactions and step into conscious responses. Each small choice to pause, to redirect, to listen, to grow, these choices shape who you become. Over time, they build an inner strength that no storm can shatter. When you gain power over your thoughts and emotions, you stop being a prisoner of circumstance. You carry your stability with you wherever you go. You become someone who not only survives challenges, but uses them as stepping stones toward growth. And in doing so, you set an example for others, showing that true power is not found in controlling life, but in mastering the way we live it.